We welcome you to Split Second Broadcasting's continued coverage of the 11th season of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. As after the off week for Memorial Day weekend, the drivers have migrated their way to upstate New York. Tonight is the first road course stop of the season, the Ride the Dente 200 at the Glen. 2.45 miles in length, 7 tricky corners, 52 laps await these drivers as we look to see if the streak will continue to 5 different winners in the first 5 races. I'm Seth Cole, and we normally see him behind the wheel every week, behind the wheel of that number 93 truck, but he's joined with me in the booth here tonight, Evan Snyder. And Evan, you gotta think that if you're a road course ace or a driver that just loves the rights and lefts of road course racing, this is a venue, this is a date you had circled on the calendar when the schedule was announced.
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why I'm in the booth tonight, because I'm not the greatest road course racer, and I tried in the practice session yesterday. It was terrible. Anyway, but for guys like Ashton Lawson and Christian Pedersen, our pole sitter for tonight, Zachary Henry, and even Hunter Madalinas, who also is sitting in the 6th spot right now, you know, these guys are road course specialists. This is a track that they have circled every single season because we do about 1 road course race in a GLR season, and these guys are the aces. These are the guys that, you know, I'm already looking at, and some of these guys I'm already circling to, you know, be fighting for pole, or correct me, fighting for a win here at the Glen.
Absolutely. We mentioned about the fact that there are 4 different winners in these first 4 races. Got some candidates up here looking for their first win on the season. You mentioned Zachary Henry on the pole. 2-time Watkins Glen winner Ashton Lawson there. To his outside, Jackson Sims, Christian Pedersen, a former winner, Matthew Weeks, a former winner, Hunter Madalinas, a former winner, all up there inside of the top 10. A little bit of an expedited pacing lap here, so we won't run through the entire starting lineup. You see it up there on the top of your screen, at least back through the 16th position here for this race. But we talk about Watkins Glen, Sonoma, it doesn't matter what type of road course it is. The 2 words we always seem to mention are track position. You got to think the drivers that qualified well here, they've got a really good chance of running well and subsequently finishing well.
I mean, 100%. Again, you know, Zachary Henry, our pole sitter, and Ashton Lawson to his inside. You see him come around here on the front stretch. You know, these are 2 guys that are going to be fighting for that track position, like you mentioned, Seth.
Gonna find out who indeed is going to ride the Dente to victory lane here tonight. Watkins Glen ready to play its part on the schedule. Green flag waves, and we head down the hill to the hard right-hand braking zone of turn 1. Already trouble in the back. That might have been Lewis Woodall. I thought it saw get out of shape. A couple more drivers back there, including Tony Mongi in the 24. I believe I also saw the 42 of Jeremy Pienta around. You see that we are still green, however. Road course yellows usually takes a track blocker for them to throw a full course, so all those drivers out of the gate that had issues either having to slow up for the wreck or getting damage, it's going to be a long night for them.
Yeah, no, I was about to say we got through turn 1 pretty clean there, but of course, obviously that's the case. Here's another really tricky spot of the racetrack, the bus stop, also through the S's. These guys go single file through there. You see the number 3 on your screen of Travis Hamby navigating through there. It's too wide as Lewis Woodall looking for a pass.
Robin in the 8 there as well. This all taking place outside of the top 20. A number of these drivers were right around the vicinity of that incident heading into turn 1. As we jump a little bit further up here in the field, you've got the 51 of Trent Curtis, currently in the 8th position. That leaf filter Chevrolet Silverado hunting down Matthew Weeks, who comes into this race second in the points, a meager 2 points behind last time out's winner, Hunter Madalinas.
Yeah, again, like you mentioned already, Seth, track position, track position, track position. That's everything what these drivers are going to be thinking, especially if you're going to fight for a win here tonight. As you know, this race, I talked to some of the drivers beforehand. You can go about 20 to 24 laps with your fuel run. You can maybe 2-stop this race, but it's most likely looking like a 3-stopper, and I think the 3-stopper is well on the table. And if you're one of those guys already thinking about that strategy, you're definitely going to want to get these passes out of the way early.
A number of drivers that are making their first starts of the season. You saw for a brief moment there the 30 of Daniel Nanny, currently holding down to the 6th position, his first start so far. And you mentioned about that 3 truck there of Travis Hamby. Looks like he's got his hands full back there outside of the top 20. Some other drivers that we haven't seen yet this season. Understood that we've got the return to the series, the 74 of John Barry, who's currently in the 21st position. In 4 previous starts, he's finished in the top 5 in 2 of those races, so maybe somebody to watch here as we're on board with him. He's currently on the hunt of Spencer Owens, our Daytona winner. This would be a battle for the 20th position.
Almost big checkup there from the 74 truck as he almost get into the back of Owens there coming out of the last turn, which is a very tricky one. That one kind of sneaks up a little bit on you, especially turn 1 as well, as you see the 74 working his way down into turn 1. You kind of have to slow up a lot, especially when you're trying to trail behind somebody. It is very easy to kind of get distracted a little bit and potentially run into the back of somebody.
We saw Lewis Woodall, his race got off to a very rocky start going around there at the entrance of turn 1, lap 1. He has brought his, big hit there into that Armco barrier. There's nothing that is a soft hit when it comes to a road course race. You're going to hit tire barrier, you're going to hit Armco barrier. There's really no safer barriers when it comes to a road course configuration.
No, and especially, too, going through the S's, that's going to be a pretty tricky part of the track for these drivers, especially as your tires begin to wear. And, tire management is another thing you got to worry about here on a road course. I mean, typically, on an oval, you have to worry about your right sides, but when you're on a road course, you're making the very unusual right-handed turn, that's going to wear out pretty much all 4 pretty quickly. So if you get your tires heated up too early into a run, those high-speed corners like the S's and even through the bus stop, you can very easily slide the rears and lose the back end of the truck.
Lewis Woodall has taken his truck back behind the wall as we're looking at I believe that's the 82 of Trey Bardo coming down pit lane here as well. One would have to assume this is unscheduled way early if you're trying to play any type of pit strategies, so we'll try and see if we can document what's going on with him. But Woodall is indeed out of the race, and he will continue his free fall through the stands after a solid start to season 11. I believe 2-3 races in, he was up inside the top 10 in the point standings, but he has since now dropped outside of the top 20. And speaking of top 10 in points, a driver that I mentioned his name back in that fiasco in turn 1 on the very first lap was the 24 of Tony Mangi. He came into this race 10th in points. And remember, the top 10 in the standings get into the playoffs at the end of the regular season. So as we're looking at that 24 truck right now in the 20th position, he's got a lot of ground he has to make up now to preserve that position up inside of the top 10.
Yeah, it's a very uphill battle for Monge. I mean, he's a really solid driver on the ovals. He's a guy to be, forced to be reckoned with, and he's always got really good pace. He has some good outings out on the road courses, obviously not comparable to his oval finishes, but I mean, again, he's fighting for a playoff spot. I know Monge wants to be in the playoffs here at the end of the season. He's a guy who could potentially contend for a championship. He has the speed. He's shown it since coming into GLR last season. It's going to be an uphill battle for him, but I think, he might be able to get into the top 15. We just have to see as the race goes on.
Had a great run last time out at Charlotte. He's finished in the top 5 in 2 of the first 4 races here this season, but we'll keep tabs on him, see what kind of strategy he can utilize, what kind of raw speed is underneath the hood of that machine. You can see him sporting that damage on the left front, a little bit of a buckle there on the hood as well. Aerodynamics not necessarily as much coming into play when it's road course racing. Usually it comes down to precision, being easy on the brakes, being fluid through the corners, so we'll see if he's able to do what it takes to work his way up through the field. As Zachary Henry got that pole position, he has led since the drop of the green flag, but Ashton Lawson has not let him get away. Henry has not been allowed to breathe. That bright orange 26 has been filling up his rearview mirror these past 5 laps.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top 5 right now, even the top 6. These are all guys that I'm not surprised to see up here running at the front. I mean, Ashton Lawson, a really good driver in his own right. Zachary Henry, really good on the ovals, but I think the road courses is really where he thrives. And of course, see the 7 machine of Hunter Madalinas, our current points leader at the moment, and of course, last week's winner at Charlotte. This is also a guy you have to watch out for on these road courses. Another really excellent driver. And of course, you have Pedersen not too far behind him, kind of waiting in the wings. He was also a race winner so far. He's trying to move up in the point standings. So it's really this top 5, I think, are going to be pretty much fighting for position this entire night.
Something that really interested me when I looked at the lineup here tonight and observed the top 10 in the point standings. 2 of our top 10 drivers have yet to score a top 5 this season. Nathan Jump being one. The other one, the race leader, Zachary Henry. So he's not been able to necessarily have flashy finishes up at the front, but with this type of a series, yes, wins count for an awful lot. It shows it's a statement maker of, hey, when these playoffs are put together, Madalinas, what just happened to him? That almost like something broke on that truck as he clobbered the wall off the exit of turn 6.
Yeah, don't know what happened. I don't know if he got a little squirrely going through that turn or what. I would love to see the replay on that one, but there goes one of your race winners, or one of your contenders for a win here tonight at the Glen. Unfortunate for that 7 machine.
That is the points leader coming into this race, the defending winner from 2 weeks ago at Charlotte. And as we'll look back at this replay, yeah, to your point, it was hard to tell if he got loose off the exit or if that thing just never turned again. Like right there, that thing just goes
just
straight.
Looks like it didn't turn.
That could be a hardware failure, maybe. I don't know. That's very uncharacteristic there. Normally, okay, we're being told that the game froze on the end of Hunter Madalinas. Yeah, that had all the look of a hardware failure. And as we said, there's no soft hits here, and he is still sitting there on the inside of the final corner, turn 7.
Yeah, I think that's obviously going to be the end of Madalinas' race. Oh, he gets it rolling. Okay, never mind. But the race leaders are coming up on him. They're right behind him, the 12 and 26, as Ashton Lawson is all over the back bumper of Henry at the moment.
Look how this incident has changed the top 10 in points. I mentioned it before we took the green flag. It was 2 points. Madalinas over Matthew Weeks. Now Madalinas finds himself 4th, 20 points out.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to go a lap down here as Zach Henry and Lawson just go right on by him. And again, you were talking about it a little bit before the incident happened, Seth, how our point system works here at GLR. Sure, winning is really nice. Winning gets you a lot of points. But at the end of the day, if you're just not consistently just grinding out top 5, top 15s, or top 10s, sorry, your points lead or your standings in the points, you're going to drop, pretty far down the leaderboard. And, that we're going to, as we just saw the live point standings, what's going to happen to Madalinas now, and that's going to be detrimental to his championship run.
And you saw when that top 10 in points was being shown there with the live scoring, a number of names coming into this race in the top 10 have since fallen out. A number of drivers that were just outside have moved in. Ashton Lawson, Brent Kincott, Jackson Sims, they've all moved in. Moving out, Tony Manji, who still has a chance to recover to get back in, but also William Barbagellata, who's not in the field here tonight. He's now dropped out of the top 10, and he will have to look to recover those points next week at Michigan.
Yeah, I'm surprised Barb didn't make it out tonight. He's one of those other guys where he's pretty solid on the road courses. He does have a few, if I'm not mistaken, a few road course wins underneath his belt in his GLR career. So that was another guy I was kind of shocked not to see in the field. And obviously, it's going to show that the points are going to show that as we see Madalinas head on down pit road. His race might be done for the night.
Yeah, certainly coming down at least to try and make some repairs to that right front. Even after he hit the wall, that truck looked somewhat broken as this battle for the lead will not go away. Ashton Lawson mentioned the fact he is a former 2-time winner here at Watkins Glen. He'd love to make it 3, but Henry, I think what Henry's doing right now is he's basically just running his line. He's saying to the 26, hey, you want to pass me? You're going to have to go somewhere that you might not be all that comfortable. Maybe the outside of one of these corners. Maybe you have to try and make a pass in one of your typical non-passing zones here at Watkins Glen. Just doing all the mirror driving he needs to do. Put that 26 in a bit of an uncomfortable spot as now Lawson will look to the inside here into turn 7.
Also, too, you got to think, you're pretty early in the race. We're coming on to lap 10 as Lawson makes that clean pass coming to the start-finish line. But if you are Henry, I think, you're okay with letting Lawson by. Plenty of race left here. There's still 42 laps to go. As actually, he's probably going to start launching a counterattack on that 26 machine. But you still got a good sizable lead to Pedersen behind them in the 71 and 3rd. So you don't want to wear out your tires too much. Probably want to try to save some fuel if you can and extend your run.
How about this statistics for Ashton Lawson at Watkins Glen? 6 previous starts, average starting position of 3.9. He obviously, with the outside front row starting, position here tonight, decreased that average starting position, but in 6 starts, a 7th place average finish. So he's almost a guaranteed lock to finish inside the top 10. As I mentioned, he's looking for his 3rd win of his career here at Watkins Glen, and that's got to give a driver a lot of confidence when you're coming into a racetrack. You've got statistics like that. Maybe even if it's not a home track, when you have success like that at a venue, you kind of consider it as home turf.
No, 100%. I mean, I said it at the top of the broadcast that, the 26 machine is going to be one to watch. That's going to be one of the guys that you're going to circle here in this starting field of a guy who's going to compete for a win. Obviously, you got Henry not too far behind, Pedersen, Daniel Nanny as well, and that guy who hasn't made a whole lot of starts here so far in the GLR season, but of course another road course expert in the field. But I mean, when you have the stats like Lawson has, and he has the skill and the capability to back it up, you're not going to be surprised if he just starts to open up this gap more and more over that 12 truck.
Well, we do have the confirmation that Hunter Madalinas has taken his truck back behind the wall. He is going to join Jeremy Pienta and Lewis Woodall. Those 3 drivers officially out of the race at this point in time. We've got 28 drivers still running, 27 of them on the lead lap. We saw the unscheduled pit stop by Trey Bartow. He is currently the only truck -1 to the race leader. As soon as I say that, now add a second one as Rod Fastnow has to yield to the leaders through the carousel. But a lot on the line here tonight, obviously, for Ashton Lawson, for Zachary Henry, drivers that are looking for their first win on the season. But also, as we mentioned tonight, the ride, the Dente 200K, well, there's also a gift card prize on the line for an undisclosed amount to Chili's. So, hey, take the team out to Chili's after the race and celebrate. Why not?
I mean, hey, might as well. We don't know exactly how much that is. Could only be enough for a triple dipper. Could be just enough for a Dente, or maybe a couple drinks with the boys. But we're not sure exactly. We were just told an undisclosed amount. I mean, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't actually race. If I knew that was on the line, I might have puttered around in about 20th tonight, even though I probably wouldn't have won. But it's the chance. It's the chance to win that gift card that counts.
Hey, if you're in it, you can win it. That's the old racing montage there. So it looks like things have gotten rather spread out here. We've been told we're going to be able to look back at the lap 1 incident that took Lewis Woodall out of this race early. Also, of course, had damage to the 24 of Tony Mangi, and a couple of other drivers collected up as well. Did not bring out a full course yellow, but certainly has put a number of drivers a bit behind the 8 ball since we have continued to trend green from the start. Taking a look at it, it's just back towards the latter half of the field, and it's like Tony Mangi tried to force it 3 wide and just definitely was not clear of the 13, runs into the back of him, and it all stacks up from there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Monge. Obviously, you want to make a big lunge to the inside, maybe pick up some track position at the start of the race, but I mean, sometimes, especially in these trucks, or even just any stock car racing when you're on a road course, I mean, just surviving the first turn is basically the game plan. You don't want to do anything too crazy. You don't want anything too out of the ordinary and launch it almost like a dive bomb that he did. As you see, he just ran right into the back of the 13 of Woodall. So, I mean, sometimes just about surviving that first turn. And I guess, Monge just got a little overzealous and tried to make a big old pass on the inside.
Right on board there with the Milwaukee Tools number 8 of Josh Robin as he made his way past the 42 of Jeremy Pienta, got through unscathed. And kind of to your point there as well, I've seen so many times when you have that downhill braking zone into turn 1, a lot of drivers don't even try and force the issue 3 wide. They'll show the nose to cause the driver in front of them to think, look in their rearview mirror, and then maybe overdrive turn 1 themselves. So I'm almost wondering, with different drivers having different comfort levels in where their braking zone is, if Mangi maybe didn't even think about making a pass there to the inside. He just wanted to show the nose, make Woodall think about it, and wasn't ready for the 13's early break into the corner.
Yeah, I mean, again, it could be just survive turn 1 mentality that Woodall did have, and maybe, the drivers in front of him checked up a little bit as well. Because, I mean, it's one thing, obviously, you want to show the nose, maybe get Woodall to swerve out of the way or kind of get him to move on his own. But I just don't think that's the play there for Monge. I mean, now look how much it has set him back. And, he's got a big uphill battle to climb. As you see the 51 head on down pit road.
And Curtis pitting from inside of the top 10. I believe he was running in the 7th position at the time. So about 14 laps in, makes the dive onto pit road. And as I'm looking at our scoring, 6 laps ago, Nathan Jump was actually on the pit lane as well, so he would have a little bit fresher tires. And I understand you were kind of talking to some drivers about strategy and everything. Like, what is there a general consensus of a number or how many stops these drivers are planning on making, or is it all over the board?
I'm not 100% sure. I was talking to Jackson Sims, driver of the 6 truck, a little bit before the race started, and when I overheard of the chatter, because a lot of the drivers, we get together and there's a general chat in the GLR Discord, and we just chat or whatever, but Jackson Sims made it sound like you can 2-stop, or you can do a 3-stop. He was more, I think, leaning towards the 3-stop option. But I mean, I was also talking to Michael Senzi, the driver of the 92 truck. He even thinks, some people are going to 2-stop this race. I mean, he was surprised when I told him that, some people are thinking about the 3-stop because obviously it is a lot slower. It adds on probably about, 30 seconds or so to your race. And you don't think 30 seconds is a lot, but especially on a road course, that is a lot of time to be spent on pit road. And of course, the least amount of time you can spend on pit road, the better. And so you might see a mixed bag of strategies. You might see some guys try to run as long as they can. A 1-stop, some people were talking about that. I think that's out of the realm of possibilities. I just don't think your fuel will last long enough.
Oh, we got a spin in the back. That is John Barry in the 74 has gone around on the entrance to turn 1. Fortunately, all that runoff there for him to scrub off enough speed before meeting any of the Armco barriers or the tire barriers, but that'll be a loss of track position for him. That drifts him back to the 17th spot.
Yeah, unfortunately there for the 74. I want to see and look back here what exactly happened to him.
I believe he was in a battle with Spencer Owens around 14th place. We'll see if there was any contact or maybe just a misjudgment on the braking zone. Maybe one of the toughest corners here at Watkins Glen because it's a downhill turn where you're trying to brake and gravity is working against you. Actually trying to make a move on Eric Kempf, and it's like you just locked him up.
Yeah, locked him up, carried a little too much speed. It's very easy on old tires on this racetrack to kind of lock them up and slide into that turn 1 because, I mean, you're going probably about 160 so miles an hour and you're braking all the way down to maybe about, 80, 70 or so. So it is a big, big, big difference, especially in these trucks. And I just kind of slid the rears there, locked them up. Luckily to stay out of the Armco barriers and keep it rolling there for the 74.
Fortunate as well not to make any contact with Kempf, who he was to the inside of there in that right-hander. Before we saw him have his issue, there was a great battle going on just outside of the top 10 between Michael Sensi and Matthew Durr. I believe Sensi has taken that spot. That was for P11. A couple of drivers with some different agendas coming into this weekend off the heels of Charlotte. For Matthew Durr, tremendous run for him that moved him up 7 spots in the standings, now to 16th. But for Michael Sensi, who had a good, strong start to the year, last week at Charlotte did not go his way as he dropped 7 spots in the standings, and he is now in the 23rd spot. But that's kind of been the running theme, I guess, here of these first 4 races. There have been ebbs and flows. There have been drivers that do great one week and then they struggle the following week, and that's why we see so much fluctuation of the positioning in the point standings at the start of one race to the conclusion of it.
Yeah, I mean, even I've been experienced that ebb and flow. I mean, my season didn't start off great either. And 2 weeks ago at Charlotte was my best finish ever in my time here at GLR, getting finally my first top 15, so that was satisfying to get. But I know for Senzi, he's definitely thinking, try to just survive this, because I mean, if you can just survive, people are gonna crash out, people are gonna wreck, like we just saw the 74 did a second ago. You're gonna gain positions naturally that way. I mean, we already have 3 drivers out of this race, so that bumped up, some people up 3 spots already. So the main goal for some of these drivers is probably just to survive.
On board with Spencer Owens, he's going to look to drivers right on Eric Kempf, heading through the bus stop here, gives way, and now we'll try to set him up for the carousel. Good battle going on here, just outside of the top 10, P13. Of course, Spencer Owens got the season started off right with the win at Daytona. Eric Kempf, he's trying to get into the top 10 in points, 14th in the standings, has got a number of our race leaders on pit road here, including Ashton Lawson, Zachary Henry, and Jackson Sims. So I think right now with what we're seeing, most of these drivers looking at this being a 2-stop race, maybe looking to pit around laps 18 and 36 to set up for a 16-lap run to the finish.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I mean, again, like we already mentioned, pit strategy is going to be a big factor here in this race, as we do have 2 more takers coming down pit road. Let's see what that is. I think that is the number 5 of Brett Kincott. We also got some other takers. So I think this is around time where people are going to start making pit stops. You might also see some people kind of stay out for a little bit longer, maybe about 10-ish laps longer, maybe, to kind of extend this fuel run. As you know, some of these guys, leaders that pitted, are trying to seem to undercut a little bit and try to two-stop this race.
Eric Kempf is in, as well as Spencer Owens and Josh Robbins. That turns the race lead over to a former winner this season in Christian Peterson, who took the checkered flag 3 weeks ago at Richmond. Subsequently comes into this race third in the point standings, and he was 13 points behind Hunter Madalinas, 11 points behind Matthew Weeks. If you're just joining us, our points leader Madalinas, our winner for last time out at Charlotte, is out of the race. Will get scored 29th here this evening, and so the point standings will definitely be shuffled. We'll be guaranteed a new points leader heading into Michigan next week, and there you see it, 6 points the difference from Weeks to Peterson as they currently run.
And while this is going on, this nice battle here between some of the leaders trying to get around Tony Monge, the number 30 of Daniel Nanny, down into pit road as well. So another taker is following in right behind him. That is the 92 of Michael Senzi. You see Monge as well down on pit road.
Monge had managed to work his way up to around, I think it was 15th when this pit stop cycle began, and right behind him in 16th, Hunter Brittle, who actually had to serve a pass-through penalty at the beginning of this race. So nice recovery for both of those drivers.
Yeah, so far so good. You got to keep it up. Again, people just crashing out of this race is going to play a huge factor. I think we're definitely maybe see some more drivers make costly errors as this race continues, but also the number 3 of Travis Hanby also making his pit stop as well for the first time, as the 71, our current race leader, Christian Pedersen, and as well as the 56 of Matthew Weeks, who currently rides in second, are also going to hit pit lane.
Zachary Henry right now is being scored in the 9th position, has made his pit stop. Ashton Lawson is a few trucks ahead of him in 7th, waiting for the remaining 6 drivers ahead of him to come to pit lane that would cycle him back to the front. I believe Matthew Weeks has dove onto pit road here, one of our former winners on the season. We're still waiting for Christian Peterson, Jared Darling, Elliot Henderson, Shane Neiswanger, and Matthew Durr to make their pit stops before Lawson would cycle back up to the front. And you know, we've seen a number of drivers have some issues here in the early going. We've seen a number of drivers make some nice recovery, and it always surprises me because Watkins Glen and Sonoma, it doesn't really matter just how much experience you've got. Those are usually the 2 road courses that you have run at least once in your racing career, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in trucks. It could be in any type of a stock car as well. So a lot of drivers, while there are those road course aces out there, you maybe feel like you are on a somewhat level playing field when you come to a venue like that. But I think because of that fact, people forget just how technical Watkins Glen really is. You mentioned it. We didn't even have a full course yellow with the lap 1 incident. We saw what happened with the 74. We saw what happened with the 7. You make a mistake, it's going to take you a long time to get that track position back. And for drivers that may not necessarily consider themselves all that good at road courses, hey, you keep all 4 tires on the racing surface. If everybody else around you is making mistakes, you're able to reap the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, again, survivability is going to be a big factor for a lot of these drivers. Of course, track position matters. We've been talking about it all broadcast long. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of somewhat of an even playing field for some of these guys that aren't really road course specialists, like you've been mentioning, Seth. So it kind of evens out kind of with some of these guys who are not really going to fight for a lead and maybe just fighting for a top 10 or a top 15. But as I say that, we do have Elliot Henderson, also Shane Neiswanger, and also Matthew Durr hitting pit road. So again, Lawson ever so close to just cycling through the lead, and looks like his pit strategy is working out perfectly for him so far.
So we're just waiting on 2 more drivers to complete this cycle of pit stops. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get 26 laps in here and be able to make it on a 1 stop, but it certainly looks like Christian Peterson and Jared Darling trying to push it as far as they possibly can. They'd be about 4 laps short of reaching that mark of maybe making it on 1 pit stop. And you can see with Christian Peterson, obviously his lap times are being hurt. He's got the older Goodyears underneath him, plus he's having to give way to the fresher tires of drivers that have already been to pit lane, like Josh Robin and Tony Monge. So I don't know. Is there a scenario where when he comes down pit road and has those fresher tires for the long run the second half of this upcoming green flag run, where that will even out the fresh tires that Ashton Lawson, Daniel Nanny, Zachary Henry, and others have been able to use with their hot lapping here on their first or second or third out laps.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, time will tell. I think Pedersen is going to try to basically run this thing out on fumes. I think that might give him a little bit of a leg up and kind of, make Ashton Lawson burn his tires a little more. His last lap was a 12.899, but he is setting down some burners. I mean, this is pretty close to his qualifying pace, not too far off of it, but he is lifting just a little bit, trying to conserve his tires as best he can. I'm sure that is in the back of Lawson's mind. He's a really smart driver when it comes to tire strategy and tire management. So I think that is something that he is not really worried about. I think he's right now just kind of running his race, trying to just open up the gap little by little over the 30 truck right behind him. And, he knows that this gap is going to close up when Pedersen and Darling inevitably pit here in the next coming laps.
Something interesting to me, daytime conditions, and you can see these trucks slip sliding around, so I kind of thought there would be more tire fall off than there is. I was going to keep an eye, as we have Peterson and Darling now coming to pit road, so Lawson will cycle to lead. I was going to keep an eye on some of our early pitters, specifically the 11 of Nathan Jump and the 51 of Trent Curtis, see if they were going to gain any track position with coming to pit road and having a little bit fresher tires there before everybody else. No, that hasn't really been the case. Nathan Jump, I think, came to pit road around the 13th position. That's where he's currently cycled around to. And then for Trent Curtis, he was around 7th, and looks like he's going to cycle to about the 5th position. He would have been 7th before the 71 and the 1 came to pit lane. So there's only maybe about 2 positions gained for the early pitting for both the 51 and the 11. Almost makes me wonder if the short pit strategy may not necessarily be something drivers would adhere to in the closing stage of this race. Doesn't look like it gains you as much track position as one would originally think.
No, again, I mean, you spend a considerable amount of time on pit road, like I mentioned. And again, especially on road courses, especially in stock car racing, you want to stay off of pit road as much as you can. You want to try to limit your time as much as you can. And, it takes roughly about 25-30 seconds, like I already mentioned, to make a full pit stop. Because, I mean, you're grabbing, 4 tires from a tank full of Sunoco fuel. So it is, some costly time. And, of course, sure, maybe you can short pit at the end, get some fresh tires underneath you, but I really just don't think it's going to make too much of a difference because of how long you are going to spend coming down pit road and servicing your truck.
Christian Peterson did a great job on those older tires, running as long as he did. Now on fresh tires, he is going to cycle to the 5th position. You see him a little under 14 seconds behind Ashton Lawson, about maybe 6.5 seconds before he gets up to a battle for position with the 6 of Jackson Simpson. I believe there's a couple of lap trucks in between him and 4th position. Zachary Henry locked up a bonus point with getting the pole position as he currently runs in 3rd. He also is in line for another bonus point as he currently has the fastest lap of this race at a 1:12.643, one of a half dozen drivers that has been able to run a lap inside of the 1:12s. 5 of them are currently running 1st through 5th, the other one being Hunter Brittle, who is currently back in the 18th position.
And the other bonus point as well will be awarded to whoever leads the most laps. And I believe at the moment that is going to go the way of the 26 of Ashton Lawson. He's set on cruise control, but you do see Hunter Brittle all over the back of that 74 machine of Barry. And Brittle was one of the last trucks to pit and kind of cycle through, and currently running in the 19th spot for him. As he's trying to gain more track position and try to recover and try to hopefully get a nice little top 15 finish for that 10 truck.
One thing that happens at road courses, especially when you have a long green flag run and a green flag pit stop cycle, the field gets very spread out. And you saw just moments ago, as we were zoned in on the 26 of Ashton Lawson, he's got a ton of traffic in front of him that he's going to have to navigate through. Keep an eye on the scoring pile on there on the top left. Right now, 2.3 seconds from Lawson back to Daniel Nanny, but if Lawson has some difficulty getting around some of those slower trucks in front of him, you may see that gap close up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think if you're at the 30 of Nanny, you just want to try to manage the gap as much as possible. Try to close it up, because, I mean, you're going to catch lap traffic eventually. I think Lawson is about to catch up to a lap truck right now. I'm trying to see who it is. Can't quite make it out. He has the 3 of Travis Hanby. So if you're the 30, you kind of just want to make sure no costly errors, keeping all 4 tires on the track, and eventually these lappers are going to slow up that 26 truck.
Just up ahead as well, the 41 of Justin Mons, the 00 of Aiden DuPont. They would be next on the hit list for the race leader. After that cycle of pit stops, we have 4 drivers that are off the lead lap. Trey Barto lost another lap, as did Rod Fastnow. They are -2. Robin Durr and James Shiflett lost a lap each after the pit stop cycle was complete. And here's a brewing battle for the 6th position. Matthew Weeks, looking back, sees Trent Curtis closing up on him. Now remember, Curtis gains a bit of track position by coming to pit road early, but there is quite a difference in the laps on his tires, the laps on the tires of the 56 up ahead of him, about 6 laps difference.
Yeah, again, I mean, that's where the pit strategy kind of comes into play. You have some guys who are short pitting, you have some guys, are waiting it out and having that tire advantage. And for Curtis, already 12 laps on those tires, it's going to be rough for him to kind of try to get around and catch up with Matthew Weeks, because Weeks is another one of those guys who's really solid at road courses, a really tough guy to pass just on any track that you race against him on. And, he has the 6-lap younger tires. So I do think now with our pitch strategies kind of cycling through and everything like that, the guys with the fresher tires or who are set up to have fresher tires as these runs go on are really going to reap the benefits of it.
Absolutely, as it looks like we're cutting back to a replay here. Something happening on the track with the 40 of Nicholas Caressel. Ooh, oh man, just overcorrects it as that thing gets loose there, heading into the center of turn 7.
Yeah, I mean, that's what can happen with these trucks. You kind of lock them up a little bit, or you lose that back end. It just slides on you. You use a little too much brake, carrying a little just too much speed into those really slow right-handers like turn 7 and turn 1, and it's very, very easy. As we see the 28 of James Shiflett also going around as well, going through turn 1, which, I mean, that turn is very tricky to navigate. I mean, it's a weird apex to hit. It's very, very sharp, and it kind of narrows up a little bit too. So it's a bit of a tricky one to kind of get down. And, if you carry too much speed, you're just going to slide right through the turn.
Both Caressel and Shiflett able to continue, but they have both lost a lap in the duration. As we look at this line of trucks, this is 13th on back. You've got Kempf, Matthew Durr, Spencer Owens, Nathan Jump, Hunter Brittle in this conversation, John Barry as well. About a half dozen trucks throw a blanket over them as they're all battling just outside of the top 10.
I mean, yeah, whoever's really going to come out on top here might, get a top 10 finish. Talk about how important the track positioning is. You see there the number 11 of Nathan Jump, GLR champion, trying to grind his way through the Glen, try to get a good finish. He started 14th, but he's actually going to relinquish the spot to the 74 as he kind of just pulls off to the right-hand side.
Yeah, not surprised. Nathan Jump currently on 21-lap old tires. A lot of drivers around him have yet to hit double digits on their good years. He was one of the first ones to, no pun intended, jump onto pit lane, and so he's playing a little bit of a different strategy to everybody else. I'm not sure if that first pit stop was unscheduled or not. I didn't see him really involved in any incident in the early going of this race, so I feel that it was a planned strategy, but we'll have to see how it all culminates in the second half of this race as we have crossed the halfway threshold. And good battle going on here. The fresh tires of Christian Peterson trying to hunt down Jackson Sims for 4th. And right now, it is looking like it's going to be a very good day for KFS Motorsports. They've got 2 of their drivers up here inside of the top 10, with Sims now dropping back to 5th and Brent Kingcott currently holding down the 9th position. These are 2 drivers coming into this week that were just below the 10th in the standings cut line. And as we've seen the top 10 live standings shown here a couple of times, they are currently now up above that cut line. So if they can continue to run where they're at, they're going to be looking pretty good here heading into next week's race at Michigan.
Again, as the season goes on, these points are going to be harder to come across, especially if you're trying to fight for 10 through 7. We've seen a lot of really close battles for playoff spots the past couple seasons here in GLR, and honestly, it comes down to maybe finishing a position or 2 higher than somebody else in that 10 through 7 spot. I mean, that's kind of what makes or breaks your entire season if you are somebody contending for a playoff spot, as we see Hunter Brittle all over the back bumper of Eric Capp as he goes into the grass as they fall through the bus stop.
It has been a tough season for Hunter Brittle. His best finish so far in the first 4 races has been 13th, but he is really turning it on here at Watkins Glen. We mentioned he had a pass-through penalty at the beginning of this race, and 30 laps later, he just completed a pass around Eric Kemp to move to the 13th spot. I know it's unlikely that we would have a full course yellow, but if he were able to gain a little bit more track position, we bunch everybody back up. I would say look out. This could be someone that could contend for this race win, especially with the lap times he's been able to lay down back in traffic.
Yeah, I mean, that is obviously ideal for any of these guys currently running in the same spot where you can throw a blanket over them. If a full course caution does come out, I mean, it completely flips this race on top of its head. I mean, you got a lot of pit strategies that will change. You have some guys, you know, further back in the pack. You see a huge block there from Durr on Barry going through turn 1. As Durr's trying to hold him off and try to get around the 63 of Eric Keff. He's looking like he's losing a lot of speed here. But I mean, yeah, if a full course caution comes out, Seth, I think, you know, it changes the entire complexity of this race.
Kemp on 12-lap old tires, 3 lap older than the driver behind him, and Matthew Durr, as you see on board here with Barry. Durr looking to the inside, heading into the chicane, the bus stop, whatever you'd like to call it here. Those rumble strips, look how rough it is here. I mean, it is not an easy drive out here. These drivers are getting jostled around with this curbing. A lot of these corners, as we've seen with the heavy braking zone, it is very bumpy. The trucks will chatter if you get on the brakes just a little too late. These drivers have their hands full, and we've seen that with the slipping and sliding that they've been doing here so far in this race. But for the most part, a lot of these drivers have been doing a great job of keeping all 4 wheels on the racing surface, which is something that Shane Neiswanger has been doing. We haven't really mentioned his name, but he's been consistently inside the top 10 all day long, currently nailing down that 10th position as he's trying to now look for a spot on Brent Kingcott. But you know, we've talked about a number of drivers running well in the point stands that have had some struggles here. Neiswanger has just kind of driven a nice, clean race, kind of kept himself in a safe spot. And as you said, the survival mentality. There's a lot of drivers, they see a road course race and their mentality is win. A lot of other drivers is just survive, get a nice, decent points day. As here's Nathan Jump on pit road. So would this be within a fuel window for him to make it the rest of the way here? Did he kind of flip the script of what everybody else is doing strategy-wise?
I mean, at the moment, he can make it to the end. We have about 20 laps left here in this race. So if he's very conservative with his fuel in this next stint, you know, it is very possible we might see that 11 truck jump a lot of people, no pun intended, and, you know, really see this undercut try to work for that 11 machine.
Lap 23 was the lap that we saw Christian Peterson come to pit road. So yeah, 20 plus laps he was able to go, and we're going to be coming around to 20 laps remaining this next time by. So Nathan Jump can definitely make it on fuel, and that is completely different from really what anybody else did as far as a strategy. Most drivers looking that they were going to pit between laps 18 to 20, more than likely pit somewhere around the lap 36 to lap 40 mark for their final pit stop, where Nathan Jump's trying to kind of preempt all of them with some strategy here. See if it works out for him as Shane Neiswanger, look at that. Oh no! Off into the grass there in the second half of the bus stop as he drove it deep there onto the back bumper of the 5 of Brent Kingcott.
Yeah. Neiswanger had to make some evasive maneuvers there to make sure he didn't take him in the 5 of Kingcott out of this race. I mean, Neiswanger putting together a pretty nice performance here. Started 15th, gained some spots, now riding up at 10th. He definitely has the speed to get around Kingcott and get after Matthew Weeks ahead of him in 8th place. So I think if you're Shane here, you kind of just regain, refocus. I mean, he does have the speed to get around that 5. He was all over his back bumper there for a couple laps.
Eric Darling not too far up ahead of them. Spectrum Racing entry currently in the 7th position, and he's coming off a lot of momentum at that runner-up finish a couple of weeks ago at Charlotte. Enjoyed the off week and going right back to work here. He jumped up the most spots from 25th to 15th, 10 positions gained after that podium finish 2 weeks ago, and looking to build off of that. I mean, easily, if he's able to finish in the top 10 here, mathematically could be going into Michigan up above that 10th in the standings cut line.
Yeah, piece together a nice race, but we want to look here at the race for the lead. Daniel Nanny has closed this gap on Ashton Lawson, currently about 0.3 behind the 26 machine. So that laps traffic, I don't really think made too much of a difference. I think the 30 just has absolute pace right now over the 26. He's able to close up that gap on him. And of course, the 12 of Zachary Henry having to navigate some lap traffic because he has the 71 of Pedersen all over his back bumper.
And I do want to amend a statement I made earlier on pre-race where I said that this was Daniel Naney's first start of the season. This is actually his second. He took the green flag back at Atlanta starting 17th, but brought it home in 33rd, only netted 4 points in that race. So definitely a lot more at the forefront of our screens here, looking to become the 5th different winner on the season. Same there for Ashton Lawson. You got to go back to 3rd before you find one of our 4 former winners in Christian Peterson.
Yeah, which Peterson just made an absolute beauty of a pass through the chicane on the 12 of Henry. Got right up on his bumper, sent it on the inside, and just outbroke him clean through the chicane. Up to 3rd place for that 71 as he's trying to track down that 30 truck now.
Yeah, you look at the interval there on the scoring pylon. Well, I was going to say it's closing up a bunch. There's a reason for that. The top 2 have hit pit road. Lawson and Daniel Naney making their final pit stops here of the night right at 18 laps to go. So interesting. They came to pit road 18 laps in. They ran about 16 laps here on this stint. Now they're going to run the final 18 laps to the checkers.
Yeah, because from this point now, you can make it with plenty of fuel left. Oh, we have the number 3 of Hanby up into the tire barriers a little bit. It gets it rolling going through turn 1. But like I was going to say, you know, you can make it here on the race, or finish the race here, not having to worry about fuel. You have some extra fuel in the tank just in case a full course caution does come out. And again, you do have fresh 4 Goodyear tires underneath your truck where you're just going to have some really good pace. And the tire wear is not going to be terrible to the point where you can still put down some heaters and not have to worry about that tire wear too much.
And how about the race off of pit road? Daniel Naney's team gets it done, and he's going to actually get out ahead of the 26. So when we end up seeing most of our other front runners come to pit lane for their final pit stop, the 30 more than likely will cycle out to the front. Now the hunted in Ashton Lawson, he's now the hunter of Daniel Naney.
Yeah, Naney kind of coming up here on some slower cars on some old tires. That's the 49 of Shane Reiswanger and also the 5 of Brett Kincott right in front of him. So, of course, you have Ashton Lawson breathing right down your neck as you're coming through a very technical portion of the racetrack. And if you are the 49 here, you obviously don't want to give up too much track position. You're not going to fight too much and just let that 26 roll on by.
Tough spot there if you're the race leaders, because these drivers in front of you, they're actually battling for position. That's a battle for 8th place between Kincott and Shane Neiswanger. And to your point, Neiswanger does not want to lose touch with the 5, but at the same time, he realizes there are fresh tires behind him, and he's trying to find a way out of the way as someone's into the tire barrier there.
41.
Yes.
Justin Mons around going through turn 1.
Out of the way of the leaders there as he had that truck rested up against the Armco barrier at pit road exit near the latter portion of turn 1. Looks like he's been able to get it refired and continue on, but a little bit of a scary moment there for drivers up here currently in the latter half of the top 10, but waiting to cycle to the front as Christian Peterson gets the race lead once again. And if the trend remains the same from what he did back on the first stint, we're not going to see him on pit lane until we eclipse 10 laps to go.
As you say that, Pedersen and Zach Henry have hit pits, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Double check that for you. Yeah, they're down pit road right now. So they are down pit road. So our new 1 and 2 guys, the 71 and 12, making their final pit stops. And I think now you're going to see a lot more people start coming down as Matthew Weeks also hitting pit road, Brett Kincott hitting pit road, as well as I'll cycle Jared Darling to our first position. But as Daniel Naney, again, on those fresh tires, he's going to hawk down that one truck pretty easily.
Like Shane Neiswanger, Elliott Henderson, some of our front runners that are still yet to come to pit road. It's been a quiet day for Elliott Henderson. Qualified pretty well. Came into this race 5th in the point standings, but we really haven't mentioned that 37 much this race. Has kind of spent a good portion of it somewhere inside of the top 15.
Yeah, he's been kind of slowly just chipping away, building up a nice race here for that 37 truck. I mean, he is also a champion here in GLR, so he knows what it takes just to make it to the playoffs, kind of knows what he's doing, knows his race. He's also just a very knowledgeable race car driver as well, so he kind of knows the ins and outs of tracks. He just needs to know what he needs to do to score some points and kind of move on to a track that he's stronger at.
Number of other drivers on pit road here. We saw John Barry. I believe Travis Hamby's on pit lane. Aiden DuPont. I also saw the 23 of Spencer Owens making his final pit stop of the day.
Also got the 82 of Trey Bartow also down there. Travis Hamby, if you didn't already mention him, as well, coming down pit road. But one guy I'm kind of looking out for here, Seth, is that 11 truck of Nathan Jump. He's up to 16th at the moment. And he's kind of slowly but surely kind of creeping his way up through this field as he's trying to piece together some points here towards the back end of this race.
What has happened to Ashton Lawson? Because I just was looking back there. He and Daniel Nanny left pit road together. Scoring now currently shows Lawson almost 7 seconds behind the 30 truck. I don't know if this had to do with some of the traffic they were dealing with, but something has obviously gone awry for the driver that led the most laps. Oh, wow. Was looking to the inside into 7. Contact made, and he loops it around.
Wow, yeah, that is unfortunate for Lawson. I know he's going to be a little hot-headed about that one, but you have to refocus, regain. This race is far from over as we see the 30 of Nanny just, wow, shut the door on him going through turn 7.
Shout out to our producer being Johnny on the spot with that replay there, as that's going to put Ashton Lawson quite a ways back now from being in the hunt for this victory after having a dominating truck. Started from the outside of the front row, has led the most laps up to this point, and was looking like he was going to be en route to his 3rd career win here at Watkins Glen, but he's got a lot of work to do and not a whole lot of time to be able to get there as well. We talked about a number of drivers that had done a great job of recovery halfway through this race. Well, that was when there were 52 laps to be able to work with. Now, as these laps continue to tick away, we're starting to enter into 10 laps to go territory. Mistakes now, there's really no time available to make any kind of a recovery at all.
And as you say that, the 37 Elliot Henderson will hit pit road and grab some 4 fresh tires of Sunoco fuel for him. But I mean, also James Shiflett, I believe, also hitting pit road. But yeah, I mean, again, it's very, very tricky. This is where your minuscule mistakes are going to, kind of backfire on you towards the back end of a road course. I mean, you just cannot have stuff like that happen. I know Lawson probably just looking for the pass and the 30 just shut the door on him. There's not much you can do about that, as Daniel Nanny is just trying to protect his position. But at the same time, you kind of just have to know when to try to make passes like that and kind of be like, all right, maybe I just set him up, get him through the carousel, or try to set something up before the chicane. But just costly stuff like that is just going to really shoot you in the foot here in the back end of this race.
Jared Darling and Shane Nicewanger have hit pit road, so that should complete our cycle, our final set of pit stops here. Now we run to the finish, and that spin for Ashton Lawson, you got to wonder what that did in wearing down those tires as you see the fresher tires of Christian Peterson closing up. This is now going to be the battle for second place. And in terms of the playoffs, the season is still young. We're still going to have a total of, I believe it's 9 races after this one before the playoff grid is put together. Daniel Nanny, as mentioned, this is only his 2nd start in the season. If he does pick up this victory, he's still got to get himself up in the top 10 in the standings for a playoff position. So in terms of the checkered flag, where we've had our 4 previous winners coming into this race in 1st through 4th, this is going to be a checkered flag that may not necessarily have playoff implications with where Nanny came into this race currently positioned.
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, this format that we do have here in the Great Lakes Truck Series, it rewards guys who show up on a weekly basis, where they put in the work week in and week out and put together really solid finishes, and just rewards consistency. It's very similar to the very old NASCAR points format, where you could be a guy where you have about 15 top 10 finishes, you sprinkle in a couple top 5s, and you can fight for a championship. It's very similar to that format a little bit. Obviously, we do have our playoffs with our top 10 drivers, but I said it earlier in the broadcast as well. I mean, if you miss a race, or if you just have 1 or 2 really bad races, and just have a string of unfortunate events happen, only a couple points can make or break your entire playoff run, or even making it into the top 10 for a playoff spot.
Absolutely, as good battle back here. Shane Neiswanger currently holding down that 10th position, but there's a couple of drivers that are looking to snipe a top 10 in the closing stages here. Michael Sensi, Elliott Henderson, and Hunter Brittle, 11th through 13th, all in the same S's section as that 49. This could be a fun four-way battle to follow here in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, and again, Hunter Brittle started 27th here in this race. Also had that penalty that he did have to serve. And I mean, what a drive for that number 10 beatbox machine as he's trying to chip away at his good friend Elliott Henderson there in the 37 on your screen. Of course, too, right in front of him is the 92 of Michael Sensi. As we see Pedersen making his way through now. He's going to make the clean pass through the S's on the 26 of Ashton Lawson. So second place for that 71 machine. Now he's going to try to track down our race leader.
Yeah, question is, does he have enough time to do so? A little more than 10 laps to go. There is a 2-lap tire advantage to the 71 truck. However, he is nearly 8 seconds behind Daniel Nanny, and he does have some traffic he would have to deal with on the way. We do have currently 26 drivers that are still in this race. Justin Mons most recently going behind the wall along with James Shiflett, Hunter Madalinas, Jeremy Pienta, and Lewis Woodall. And we currently have 18 drivers on the lead lap. Is Jared Darling out of shape there off the exit of the S's?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I mean, it looked like the truck maybe got loose as these tires do wear on. Going through the S's can get a little sketchy. I mean, that back end of the truck can really step out on you if you're carrying just ever so slightly enough, too much speed through that section of the racetrack.
Truck really wide back behind him. I think that was Rod Fastenau through the carousel, almost up above that white line in the upper banks of that sweeping right-hander. As Darling going to lose a spot to Brent Kincott, he'll look to reel him back in. Jared Darling, one of the last drivers to come to pit road, so he would have the fresher tires here in this closing run to the checkered flag. And you see he got a nice exit there off of turn 7. Battle right here going on between Tony Mangi and Josh Robin, and this is actually the battle for the free pass position. Unlikely that will be given out as we've not had a full course yellow, but this would be for 19th place. They are in the first 2 positions, 1 lap down, and look who's right behind them, the 2nd and 3rd place trucks of Peterson and Lawson.
Yeah, I mean, you want to try to stay out of the way if you are the 8 and the 24 of that 71 machine. He's just trying to check out from the 26, because I mean, even though older tires are starting to wear in for Lawson, you know, he's still a guy that can make it happen at any point of the race. So maybe if you are Pedersen, you kind of want those lap trucks to kind of act as a little bit of a roadblock, so you're able to build up somewhat of a gap to that 26.
These trucks are definitely proving to be a roadblock in favor of Daniel Nanny. Just looking at the lap times here, Christian Petersen is losing anywhere from 2 to 4 tenths a lap. The gap continues to increase to now over 9 seconds and growing. Daniel Nanny, we'll see what type of a situation he's got in terms of traffic that he's having to deal with, but his best friend right now is the lap counter. Every lap that chips away from 10 to 9 to 8 laps to go is just one more lap that puts the pressure on Christian Petersen to try to close that gap up.
Yeah, right now Nanny is just having to try to navigate around the number 63 of Eric Kepf. And he does have some more lappers in front of him as well. But I mean, if you are the 30, you know, you just keep hitting your lines, keep it clean, keep it simple. Don't try to do anything too out of the ordinary. These lappers will move out of the way. You see Eric Kep kind of dive onto the outside of the 30 and try to let him through here on turn 1. But just keep it nice and smooth here for that 30 truck, and he's looking pretty poised with 8 laps to go to bring this thing home.
8 laps to go, over 8 seconds in hand. If you're Daniel Nanny, are you backing your pace down maybe a little bit here, just making sure you don't overdrive a corner or something? Because it seems like right now the only person that could take this checkered flag away from Daniel Nanny is Daniel Nanny.
I mean, yeah, no, 100%. I mean, obviously, you want to push a little bit to kind of keep increasing this gap between you and Pedersen, but also at the same time, like you mentioned, Seth, you want to try to keep all 4 tires on the track the best you can, limit any mistakes. I mean, Nanny's a really good driver. He's not going to make too many mental errors. But, I mean, obviously, you know, you want to make sure, be extra cautious, but you can't be too cautious because you obviously don't want to run the risk of just opening the door ever so slightly. So I think if you are that 30, You don't really take too much off the pace, but just enough to where you can keep it nice and consistent to finish out this race.
But we talk all the time about racecraft and how the skills of road course racing, those that are a little bit better at it, are able to reap the benefits of what takes place on the racing surface. But I think when we, in retrospect, look back at this race, if Daniel Nanny indeed closes this thing out with his first win of the season, I think we got to give a shout out to his pit crew as well. We saw him win that battle off pit road against Ashton Lawson. Looking at the pit stop time, Lawson had a 14.9 second pit stop, 14.3 for Daniel Nanny. The lead changed, the race complex completely changed with that final green flag pit stop.
I mean, iRacing says that the pit crews are even, but sometimes it makes you really wonder how even some of these pit crews really are, depending on who you are. So, but good job to the boys down there in pit road to get that 30 machine out of pit stop as much as you can, as fast as you can. Because again, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but the least amount of time you spend on pit road, the better off you're going to be, especially on a track like the Glen.
I haven't mentioned his name much here tonight, but give a shout out to the consistency continuing for Matthew Weeks. Maybe the biggest bump in the road a couple of weeks ago at Charlotte when he brought it home in the 18th position, but up to that point he had 3 straight finishes inside of the top 5, including the victory at Atlanta, looking like he's en route for another solid top 10 run here. Now I do not believe that he would be the points leader right now with Christian Peterson running in second, but it's going to be pretty close, I think, between those two with Hunter Madalinas out of the picture. Oh nope, there you see it, Weeks 5 points to the good, up on Peterson. And Henry now enters into that conversation as well after starting on the pole and staying in the top 5 all day long.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Madalinas isn't falling too much down the leaderboard. He's only falling down to 4th. Now 20 or minus 20 to the good from Matthew Weeks and Spencer Owens. I think it's because, you kind of look at those other guys like Spencer Owens and a few others where they're not having the greatest race here tonight. I mean, Owens is up in 14th right now, started 20th. But I mean, for him, you kind of have to try to pick off a couple more spots if you can.
It's the best battle going on right now, and this is what we were talking about, that culmination just outside of the top 10, 11th through 13th with Sensi, Henderson, and Brittle, as we are now under 6 laps to go. Brittle closes up there in that heavy braking zone of turn 1, right to the back bumper of the 37. Gets a little loose there up on those rumble strips. The rumble strips are kind of only really there as a guideline of showing you where the racing surface ends and that runoff begins, especially in daytime conditions. As you run more and more laps and rubber builds up, it makes it really slick. So you saw there when Brittle got those left sides up on that curbing off of turn 1, how the truck almost kind of the nose started to slide forward and he had to gather the thing back up.
Yeah, I don't know if our producer Jeff can pull it up, but Daniel Nanny almost got obliterated by the number 98 of Robin Durr. Robin Durr coming out of turn 7 on the front straightaway, lost the back end, spun in front of our race leader. Luckily Nanny was able to avoid it, but that was really close for comfort for the 30 truck.
This is why we say you can never give the checkered flag to somebody until they have crossed the stripe. We've seen so many times this season a driver that looks like the dominant truck of the night not bring it home with the checkered flag, as here's what you were talking about. 98 into the wall, and woo!
Oh, man.
That will spark the heart rate real quick.
Oh, I would... if that would have taken me out, because I've had something similar happen to me before earlier in the season already, I would not be the happiest camper. As oh wow, the 56 of Matthew Weeks going around as well.
Hits those barrels right there at the entrance of pit road, gets the thing refired. Scoring currently shows him back in 13th, and he was just moments ago we were showing him in 7th place. Costly mistake there for a former winner.
Yeah, I mean that is. Oh yeah, just came out of the corner, corner exit, just messed it up a little bit, right? Made a beeline right for the pit wall. And that's huge for Weeks. I mean, we talked about how he currently was our current points leader. I don't know how much that's going to affect the points as they run at the moment.
I would say it puts him 1 back of Christian Peterson now. He was 5 to the good over Peterson. He just dropped 6 spots.
Yeah, no, that is a very costly mistake. I mean, I already said it before. Towards the back end of this race, if you can just limit your mistakes with 4 laps to go, just escape with some points, some of these guys, that's the goal. But now you look at the top 5 or the top 10. Of course, you have Daniel Netting in the lead, Christian Pedersen, Ashton Lawson, Zach Henry, Jackson Sims, another guy who's been consistent in the top 5 so far this entire race. Started 3rd, kind of riding around in that 5th spot at the moment. And then Brett Kincott and Jared Darling, you see here fighting for 6th and 7th on your screen. Then Shane Icemonger and then Michael Senzi now up into 10th. They finally have been able to get around that number 37 truck, Elliott Henderson.
It shows how important that battle was, right, between Sensi, Henderson, and Brittle. It was at the time a battle for 11th, but then with the mistake by Matthew Weeks, it now propels Sensi up into the top 10. So that's why we see these drivers continue to fight in these closing stages of the race. They're not giving up yet on the fact that there still could be a position or two to be gained if somebody slips up further up ahead.
Yeah, like I said already, survival is key. If you can just survive, keep your truck clean, keep all 4 tires on the racetrack, you're going to weasel your way up a couple spots with some guys having some costly mistakes, just like Matthew Weeks, like Hunter Madalinas, or the incident at the very beginning of the race that took out 2 drivers, Jeremy Pena and Lewis Woodall. You're going to gain spots just by being consistent, and you're going to gain spots by just being able to stay out of the mess and just keep her clean.
Daniel Nanny having that heart-stopping moment on the front straightaway. He is continuing to lay down the lap times. He is continuing to run consistently about 0.3 of a second faster than Christian Petersen, and he is trying as quickly as he can to get around here to see the white flag in the air to make this thing official. He just hit the stripe for 2 laps to go. He's got a bit of traffic in front and behind him. That's the 74 of John Barry in the rearview mirror, just out the windshield. The last truck on the lead lap of Matthew Durr in 15th place. Spencer Owens just up ahead. I think right now, if you're Daniel Nanny, you're not forcing the issue with any of these trucks up ahead. You're just going to stay in this nice little safe position. Just manage your gap back to Christian Petersen. Make this thing back to the white flag, especially as we saw what happened with that 98 of Robin Durr a couple of laps ago.
And also the beauty as well for Nanny, these guys that he has got to get around for lapping, they're pretty good about letting a lead truck through. They don't want to hold up a lead truck any more than what they already probably have to do. That is the nice thing about some of the guys racing here, is if the race leader's coming through, they get out of the way, which is very, very nice. And of course, always greatly appreciated for any of our top guys, working their way through the field, especially as the 30. Been pretty dominant since that last pit cycle, as he's going to take the white flag here at the Glen.
Race was definitely won on pit road. How about Daniel Nanny? Only his 2nd start of the season. His first start only netted him 4 points coming into this weekend's race at Watkins Glen. And now as he makes his way around these winding 7 corners, he is just less than 1 lap away, about maybe 2 miles away from scoring his first victory of season 11.
Yeah, and also too, it's going to be a huge win for Roundabout Racing. It's also my team as well. Shout out the boys in Roundabout. But yeah, it's going to be huge for them in the team standings as well. I think they're sitting around 4th or 5th at the moment. So this one's going to be huge for the team points for Roundabout. And again, just the first win of the season for that team. So they're probably going to be happy to get this one underneath their belt.
Just a couple more corners to traverse as he takes it wide through that runoff area, exiting the carousel, prepares up ahead to the left-hand turn into 6. Doesn't look like he'll put any pressure on Spencer Owens just up ahead of him. He'll now make his way into the right-hand turn 7. Turn for home on the front straightaway. He's riding the Dente here tonight. Daniel Nanny going to take the checkered flag this afternoon at the Glen.
And get that man his undisclosed amount gift card to Chili's. What a drive there from Daniel Nanny. We've already said it. That race was won on pit road, as you see Nathan jump across the line as well, right there next to our 3rd place finisher, Ashton Lawson. But this is going to be the battle here to look at as it comes to the end through the carousel between the 92 of Michael Senzi, Elliott Henderson, and also Hunter Brittle in that 10 truck waiting in the wings. See if he can try to capitalize on the mistake here, these last closing turns.
Gracious, Hunter Brittle way wide there off of the carousel. Might lose him out on battling for this 10th position. Sensi trying to hold off Elliott Henderson for that final 10th spot. Henderson
Descended.
takes a look low. Sensi gonna cover Brittle way wide. Off
Locked
of
it
the
up.
final corner, it's gonna be Michael Sensi who's gonna net that final top 10 position.
Yeah, huge there for Sensi as he started this race in 17th, able to drive to the field, keep her clean, finishing 10th. As we see Hunter Brittle just send it into the tire barriers. But still, a really good race there from Hunter Brittle, not able to close it out and get around Elliott Henderson. But I mean, what a drive there from Brittle. Had that penalty, like we mentioned, started 27th, but finishes 12th. But the man on your screen, the 30 of Daniel Nanny, able to bring it home for Roundabout Racing and pick up his first win of the GLR season.
And we talked about track position in the pre-race. Take a look at our top 4. That's pretty much where all the laps led were at with Nanny, Peterson, Lawson, and Henry. And they're all going to finish inside of the top 5. Well, we're going to now see if we can get a hold of our top 3 finishers here. As I believe we're going to start things off and get a hold of the driver that's currently making his way through the final couple of corners here at Watkins Glen, getting ready to head en route to Victory Lane. We'll see if we can dial up race winner here tonight, Daniel Nanny. Hey Daniel, it's Evan and Seth up here in the Split Second Broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, all came down to execution here today, not only on the racetrack, but on pit road with pit road strategy. We saw you be able to leapfrog the 26 on pit road, and then you were lights out and making your way through traffic. All green flag racing, so you couldn't put a wheel wrong. How difficult was it? Because from up here in the booth, you made it look pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, coming up pit road, that's where all came down to it, whether if I can jump him off pit road or not. And thankfully, I had a quicker pit stop than the 26, so I managed to somehow keep him behind me. And unfortunately, we were gonna have a good battle until he lost the truck and spun out going to the last corner. But yeah, navigating my way through the lap traffic, that was a little scary. There was a couple of close calls with some lap cars spinning out in front of me, but thankfully nothing affecting me.
Had that near moment there with the 98 on the front straightaway. And something that I was kind of looking at here in terms of lap times and in terms of the split strategy we had in the middle portion of this race was wondering if there was some type of an advantage in pitting early with the tires. We saw you come down pit road the same lap as the 26 right on his back bumper. Was there any advantage in terms of tires, or was there not nearly as much wear as one would normally think, and that's why you decided not to really necessarily allow the 26 to get any type of advantage and pit the same lap as he did?
Well, I knew if I stayed out one additional lap, which I did in the first green flag pit stops, I was going to lose at least a second to the 26. So if I made my way to the 26 back bumper, which I did, I was going to pit with him and just try to pass him on pit road, which is what evidently happened.
Well, Daniel, a great job for you here tonight. Your second start of the season. Your first start didn't go the way that obviously you wanted back at Atlanta, but you're parking this number 30 in Victory Lane here tonight at Watkins Glen. Tremendous job. Congratulations on the victory. And before we let you get to your celebrate, we're now going to open the floor up to you and let you do some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
I got to say thank you to the broadcast booth for putting on a show for us and letting us showcase our lead. And I know I haven't been around recently, but I'm going to be here on a part-time basis, so you might see me a couple of more races this season. So I'm hoping I can win some more. And of course, I got to give a special shout out to Elliot and all the admins of the lead for putting on this lead for us and welcome me back in with open arms, and I can't wait to race with them some more.
Fifth different winner on the season tonight. It is Daniel Nanny as he wins the Ride the Dente 200K at Watkins Glen. Go and enjoy this victory. Congratulations on a hard-fought win.
Thank you guys so much.
And Evan, I believe you've got our second place finisher on standby.
Yeah, we do. Christian Pedersen, Evan, and Seth here up in the booth. You have a copy.
Yeah, I got a copy.
All right. Well, second place finish here for you tonight. I know towards the end of the race, things got a little hairy with the pit strategy, of course, capitalizing on the mistake of the 26 of Ashton Lawson. So kind of take us through the back end of this race here, that final pit stop that you did make to kind of help you set up this second place finish here tonight.
Yeah, I think we definitely had speed to run up front. I just screwed up that first pit stop, but I was trying to get longer run tire, and then I thought it was gonna work out, and Daniel and Ashton there were just too fast, and then Ashton I guess had some troubles there on pit road in the last stop, so kind of got lucky there, took advantage. I think I had like a lap or two fresher tires than he did when I was on his bumper, so that I think that helped a little bit, and then I seen Daniel was so far out ahead, I was just kind of trying to bide time, and if he made a mistake, he made a mistake, but I wasn't gonna push it and just try to get some good points.
And of course, too, with your second place finish here, and of course, the mistake from Matthew Weeks, with him finishing down in 13th place, I believe that kind of, I think, puts you up into our points leader at the moment going into Michigan. So, how are you going to ride that momentum now? And with that piece of information to kind of maintain this points lead, have yet another consistent finish next week at Michigan.
Well, hopefully we can like rely and lean on our teammate there, Manji. I know he's pretty good at Michigan, so just try to be consistent and finish better than everybody else if they're ahead of me in the points or whatnot. We're gonna just try to keep a nice lead and try not to have any bad races. There's a lot of good drivers in here, so anything can happen really at any moment or any week, so just got to be consistent.
And before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank here tonight for your second place finish here at the Ride the Dente 200?
Just everybody at Manji Motorsports, Manji, Duda, all you guys who put on the show at Great Lakes. You guys do a good job. It's a lot of fun on Tuesday nights, so thank you.
Well, thank you as well, Christian. Enjoy your second place finish. I know you're going to look forward to Michigan next week, and good luck to you next week as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then last but not least, we will have our third place finisher of Ashton Lawson. So we'll throw it over to Seth with Ashton Lawson.
Hey, Ashton, it's Evan and Seth up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got us?
Yep.
Oh, man, we talked about that you were the only active driver here tonight with multiple victories at this racetrack, one of the strongest trucks in the field. And just in that second half of this race, after that final pit stop, it started to unravel a little bit. I want to go back to that battle there into turn 7. It's you in the 30. You're trying to make your way through some traffic as well. You drive it deep there into turn 7, nearly make contact. The thing locks up and spins around. Does this kind of, in retrospect, kind of seem like the one that got away?
I can't blame that on why I lost a race. I meant to practice pit road entry and didn't do it in practice and ended up costing me because I lost the lead on pit road. So that's what I look at.
Well, we saw you right on the back bumper of the 30 leaving pit road. It was looking like it was going to set up to be an exciting finish to the end. But on the plus side, a good consistent run for you here tonight. You came into this race just below the 10th in the standings cut line. And as we were watching you up there in the podium all night long, you were then up above that cut line. So now something to kind of build off of as you head into Michigan. Now try and build a gap back to that 10th in the standings.
Yeah. Michigan's not normally one of my stronger tracks, so just hoping to get a top 10 when we go there, to be honest.
You know, drivers that are so good at the road courses, when we're watching here from the booth, you guys make it look so easy. But there had to be some things that you guys were struggling with on the short run, middle run, long run that we're not necessarily able to see and feel from the driver's seat. Can you kind of give us a kind of under the helmet of some of the key things that you were kind of keeping mentally in your mind here in preparation for a track like Watkins Glen? Because a lot of people with the experience and the amount of times we come to a track like this, they may not realize just how technical this road course really is.
I think it's just a lot of managing how deep you're braking into each corner throughout the run, especially the final and the first corner. The first corner, you have a tendency to wheel hop pretty easily with a downhill, fast braking zone. So I think just managing that and then ensuring you're not overdriving the entry to the final corner are two keys that I always like to think about.
Well, a great run for you here tonight, scoring your first top 5 of the season, bringing it home on the podium. And as I said, I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing at the conclusion of this broadcast in our point standings, you are now going to be up inside of the top 10, currently in a playoff spot, and looking to preserve that here as we head closer towards the halfway point of this regular season. Congratulations on a great run here tonight. Before we let you go, we'll turn it over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
I just want to thank the Buzz and Brews Barbershop here in St. Pete, and then everybody on my new team, NorCal this year, Zach, Jump, Barb, Preston, Heller, everybody this year has been great working together.
That's Ashton Lawson, third place performance here tonight at Watkins Glen. Congratulations on the great run and best of luck trying to ride this momentum into next week in the Irish Hills.
Thank you.
So Daniel Nanny becomes the 5th different driver to go to victory lane here to start off this 11th season of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series. We'll take a look at our final full finishing results. As Zachary Henry, who started on the pole position, is going to bring it home in the 4th spot. Jackson Sims, as you said there, Evan, kind of quietly consistent here tonight. I don't think we talked a whole heck of a lot about him, but he's had a really good start to the season. This will be his 3rd top 5 in the first 5 races. Trent Curtis, great run for him in his first start this season in 6th. Jared Darling played the strategy on fresh tires on both the cycle of pit stops to bring it home in 7th. Brent Kincott, top 10 all night long, brings it home in 8th. Shane Neiswanger in 9th, and we saw that battle there at the end between Michael Sensi and Elliot Henderson. Sensi able to hang on for that final 10th position.
And speaking of that battle, Elliot Henderson coming in 11th place. You know, the biggest mover of the night is that number 10 truck, 100 Brittle, bringing home in 12th, started 27th. See that on your screen. Matthew Weeks comes home in 13th after that costly mistake towards the end of the race, dropped him down all the way to 13th. Spencer Owens in 14th. Matt Durr coming home in 15th. A little glitch there in 16th. So
John Barry apparently not scored on the finishing result.
I don't know where he went, but he's in 16th. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. And then Nathan Jump, we saw him kind of try an alternative pitch strategy. Didn't really work out too well for him. He'll come home in 17th. Eric Kep in 18th. Josh Robin in 19th. And then Tony Monge had a pretty good recovery to finish 20th here tonight.
We'll have to see where Jump and Monch are going to be at the conclusion of this one as far as top 10 in points are concerned. Other drivers that struggled here tonight, Aiden DuPont finishing a lap down in 21st. We saw Caressel have a moment in turn 7, finishes in 22nd place. Travis Hanby in 23rd. Trey Bartow had a couple of issues tonight, 24th for him, multiple laps down. Rod Fastnell -4 in 25th. And then these drivers, 26th on down, did not reach the conclusion. Robin Durr, Justin Mons, James Shiflett, maybe the biggest one, Hunter Madalinas, who in the very early stage of this race had a hardware failure, hit the outside wall between turns 6 and 7, retired out of the race after coming into this week's event, the points leader, 29th for him. Jeremy Pienta going to finish in the 30th position. And then Lewis Woodall was the first driver out of the race. He, I don't even think, was able to complete a full lap before having a problem. Turn 1, lap 1, bringing it home in the 31st position. So how did this all shake out the top 10? Well, take a look at this. Christian Peterson, as we thought, 1 point to the good over Matthew Weeks. Zachary Henry now enters into the conversation -12. And I'm with you. I'm really surprised that Hunter Madalinas, despite the DNF, still sits 4th in points, 15 points out, easily with a good run, maybe a second win on the season next week at Michigan, could find himself back at the top of the standings board.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it kind of helped that Spencer Owens didn't have the best night either. I mean, Elliot Henderson finished in 11th, but again, you know, you got guys like Ashton Lawson who, you know, came home in 3rd, didn't really do too much of a dent because of just how kind of, I wouldn't say inconsistent his season has been so far, but just kind of how okay the season has been for that 26 truck. I know I could hear it in his voice during the interview. You know, he obviously wants that mistake back, and he wants to be able to, you know, win that race. And, you know, he's very competitive. He's a really good race car driver, so I know he's going to be a little beaten up about that one. But, I mean, of course, too, Nathan Jumpton had the best finish. Brett Kincott, another guy that moves into the top 10, who's also just been consistent as well. But, I mean, I think what helps Madalinas here is guys like Spencer Owen or Shea Neiswanger or Elliot Henderson didn't have the greatest finishes as well as Nathan Jump. So that's kind of what I think helped him kind of stay within the top 5 of our point standings.
Lawson and Kingcutt jump into the top 10. Tony Manji and William Barbagelata drop out. They'll look to rebound next week at Michigan. As you see there, Barbagelata drops to 12th. Manji down to 14th. Jackson Sims now knocking on the door after his top 5 run, 11th in points. But a big shakeup here in Watkins Glen. We expect to see a lot more of the same next week when we head to the Irish Hills, the 2-mile speedway / super speedway of Michigan International Speedway. That will play host to race number 6. We hope you guys will join us for that next Tuesday night here on Split Second Broadcasting. We once again congratulate Daniel Nanny as he wins the ride, the Dente 200K here at the Glen. Thank you all for tuning to our coverage here this evening. For myself, for Evan Snyder, our producer Jeff Johnson, we'll see you guys next week as we continue on Season 11 of the Great Lakes Racing Truck Series.